Imagine being dragged grotesquely and relentlessly into a 15-foot wide intake tube straight toward the spinning blades of a massive underwater turbine. A force so overwhelming that even the most seasoned divers, wearing the best tech money can buy, wouldn't stand a chance of getting out. This isn't fiction. It's the horrifying reality Christopher Godet and Frédéric Pochet faced on January 4, 2024, in the waters of the Taille Dam in Belgium. But the question that echoes is this: was it only the divers' recklessness pushing past known limits, or was the dam itself a deadly trap waiting to be triggered? A systemic failure just waiting for its next victim? Can experience and passion for diving blind even the most cautious people to the most obvious dangers? Drop your opinion in the comments as we unravel this chilling story, one that forces us to confront the razor-thin line between adventure and tragedy. On that freezing January night, under the heavy, impenetrable darkness of Belgium, Christopher, a 46-year-old banker from Liège, and Frédéric, 59, from Crisnay, were preparing for a technical night dive in the Taille Reservoir. Both held advanced PADI certifications, meaning their training and experience put them far above the average recreational diver. They were considered skilled people who understood the risks and complexities of diving in demanding environments. So why would two highly qualified professionals attempt a dive that, as it would turn out, broke every rule of safety and common sense? The Taille Reservoir, part of the largest complex of artificial lakes in Belgium, is a scenic gem and a daytime playground. Calm waters draw sailors, water skiers, and, of course, divers. But behind the natural beauty and recreation lies a crucial industrial purpose: hydroelectric power generation. The imposing dam, about 2,590 feet long, with 4 colossal turbines, is the beating heart of the system. The local dive center, fully aware of the danger built into that structure, had set clear safety zones, a 500-foot exclusion radius, and a depth limit of about 66 feet. At those depths, even with the turbines off, you could still hear them, a warning, a constant reminder of the power sitting there, dormant but real. Anything outside those zones was strictly forbidden, non-negotiable rules meant to keep people alive. But Christopher and Frédéric had other plans that would take them beyond those boundaries. They weren't using standard open-circuit scuba gear, the kind most people picture when they think of diving, where bubbles stream upward with every exhale. Instead, they chose closed-circuit rebreathers. These sophisticated systems recycle exhaled gas, scrub out carbon dioxide, and add oxygen back in, allowing much longer and deeper dives, with no bubbles that might spook marine life or, more importantly, give away their position. On top of that, they brought underwater scooters and DPVs, diver propulsion vehicles, letting them cover long distances underwater at high speed. End quote. That combination wasn't random. It was a clear signal they intended to go beyond recreational limits, to explore forbidden depths, and possibly approach the dam itself. A choice that, whether driven by curiosity or the hunger for adventure, was not only illegal, it was catastrophically dangerous. And it would seal their fate. What these experienced divers understood, but may have fatally underestimated, was a phenomenon known as delta P, or differential pressure. To grasp how powerful it is, picture a bathtub drain, but scaled up to something monstrous, where water is pulled with unimaginable force. When huge volumes of water flow through a relatively small opening like a dam's intake tunnels, it creates a crushing pressure difference. Water surges from high pressure to low pressure with a force no human being and not even a small sub can fight. It's a silent killer, because the current can feel non-existent until it's too late. You can't wrestle it. Once it grabs you, the only exit is being forced through. It's like being seized by an invisible, unstoppable hand, dragged toward an unavoidable outcome. And here's what's most disturbing, what many people would call unforgivable: the protective grates, meant to block objects and, more importantly, people from entering the turbine tunnels, had been removed years earlier. According to the dam operators, the reason was practical and economic. Constant water pressure and relentless vibration from the turbines destroyed the grates every couple of months, and replacing them was expensive and logistically difficult. But that decision, choosing convenience and cost savings over basic safety, turned the dam into an open mouth. This wasn't a minor detail. It was a critical omission that turned a manageable hazard into an existential threat. And it combined with the divers' individual risk-taking to create a perfect setup for disaster. As Christopher and Frederick descended, the outside world faded into silence. At about 66 feet, the surface noise, the chatter of daytime recreation, vanished completely. They kept going, driven by their scooters, ignoring the quiet warnings of nature and engineering. 100 feet, 115, and finally, around 130 feet. At that depth, pressure is roughly 4 times what it is at the surface, compressing bodies, narrowing margins, sharpening consequences. They were on the edge of danger, just meters from the dam's intake tunnels. At that moment, the turbines were off. The silence was almost total, broken only by the muted, steady sound of their own breathing through the rebreathers. Darkness surrounded them, pierced only by their lights, revealing a cold, mysterious underwater void. And then the unthinkable happened. A faint hum, barely noticeable at first, started to vibrate through the water. It quickly became a roar, a deep trembling that ran through the reservoir and through the divers themselves. With no warning, no sirens, no flashing lights, 3 of the dam's 4 reversible turbines switched on at the same time. With a combined flow rate of roughly 3,740 cubic feet per second, an impossible force seized both men instantly. There was no time to react, no time to swim, to turn, to fight. Their scooters, built for exploration, became useless, completely outmatched by industrial suction. They were pulled through the 15-foot wide tunnel toward the spinning turbine blades, now turning with full mechanical fury. In seconds, they were dragged from roughly 160 feet down to around 230 feet, utterly defenseless against the overwhelming power of the current. The invisible monster in the depths had awakened, and it collected its price immediately. Alarm set in when Frederick's son couldn't reach his father on Friday morning and drove to the reservoir. Seeing one of the cars still parked near the dam, untouched since the night before, confirmed his worst fear. Something had gone terribly wrong. Authorities were alerted immediately, and a large-scale search effort began. Belgian civil protection teams, disaster victim identification units, 10 highly trained professional divers, and advanced sonar equipment were deployed to scan the vast reservoir for Christopher and Frederick. Hope, shrinking with every passing hour, still lingered, fueled by faith in the divers' experience and toughness. During the first search attempt, damaged gear was recovered: their closed-circuit rebreathers, underwater scooters, and buoyancy vests. The discovery pointed to an accident, but it still wasn't the definitive answer their families desperately needed. The reality, however, was brutal. Later calculations showed the turbine's pull could drag a person at roughly 30 to 100 feet per second. Their DPVs, designed for exploration, not escaping an industrial intake, topped out around 9 feet per second. In other words, they never had a chance. No living person on Earth, no matter how strong or how fast, could swim or propel themselves against that kind of force. The fight was over before it could even begin. Bad weather, heavy rain, and poor visibility made the search even harder over the next few days. Helicopters with thermal cameras were brought in, trying to locate any sign of life or any trace at all. But the cold, undeniable truth surfaced on Sunday, January 7th, more than 46 hours after the dive. The divers' remains were found downstream of the dam, about 2/3 of a mile away. An autopsy later confirmed they were Christopher Godet and Frederick Pochet. The plate Taille Dam, meant to be a source of power and a place for recreation, had become the final resting place of two experienced divers. A brutal reminder of how fragile human life is when it collides with the raw forces of nature and engineering. The plate Taille tragedy is a dark, layered warning about a lethal mix: human boldness, complex machinery, and safety failures. Was it the diver's recklessness, overconfidence, or an uncontrollable urge to explore the unknown, pushing past exclusion zones and depth limits? Or was it the operator's negligence, removing protective grates for cost and maintenance reasons, turning a recreational area into a death trap? Maybe it was both. Human error, magnified by a structural failure, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. This story forces us to think hard about hidden dangers in places that seem controlled, and why respecting not just rules and regulations, but the unforgiving realities of physics and engineering can be the difference between coming home and never coming back. So, what's the biggest lesson you take from this story? Share it in the comments.